Hey there, welcome back to the Art of Concrete. If you're new here, we cover everything related to concrete projects, techniques, tips, tools, news, anything that's up and coming. Today we're diving into something that can feel a bit daunting, but with the right approach, it's very doable. Jackhammering concrete steps efficiently. Whether you're demolishing old steps or preparing for a new project, using a jackhammer the right way can save you a ton of time and effort. In this video, I'll be sharing some of the most efficient ways to use a jackhammer so you can get the job done right and efficiently. Let's jump right in. Before we even start breaking anything, let's talk safety. Jackhammering is a physically intense and potentially hazardous job, so here's what you'll need. Safety glasses, ear protection, heavy-duty gloves, a dust mask, steel-toed boots or rubber boots that are steel-toed, a hard hat if you're working in a large demolition area. Choosing the right jackhammer. Okay, so let's talk tools. There are a few types of jackhammers out there, but for this job, an electric jackhammer is your best bet. They're lighter and easier to control than the pneumatic counterparts, and they still have plenty of power to break up the steps. If you're dealing with reinforced concrete or thicker steps, consider renting a heavy-duty model, but for most residential steps, a medium-duty electric jackhammer should do the trick. We use the Hilti AVR 3000. Now, preparing the concrete for jackhammering. Here's something that not everyone thinks of. Scoring the concrete before you start hammering away. Grab a piece of chalk or a chalk line and mark out the areas that you want to break. If you've got a concrete saw or angle grinder, use it to make shallow cuts along the marks. This will give the hammer a path to follow and prevent it from skipping around. If you don't have a saw, you can still use the hammer, but having those score lines makes everything smoother and more controlled. One thing that's really important when using jackhammers is getting yourself some good footing. Balance, because you're on awkward situations with a very heavy jackhammer that's bouncing around. Positioning and angle for maximum efficiency. All right, time to fire this thing up. But before you do, let's talk about positioning. Most beginners make the mistake of attacking the concrete head on, holding the jackhammer straight up and down. If you're holding the jackhammer straight upright and holding the trigger, that jackhammer is not going to break any concrete right away. It's just going to sink itself in and you're going to bury the bit in the concrete. Then you'll have to use another bit to get that bit out. So that's not the best way to go. But that's also going to wear you down fast and it won't break the concrete efficiently. Instead, aim for a 45-degree angle or 30-degree angle. This way you're prying the concrete apart rather than trying to pound it straight in, and moving the jackhammer periodically every 10 to 15 seconds so it doesn't bury itself in the concrete. You can see how the concrete comes apart more easily at this angle. You're working smarter and not harder and letting the tool do most of the heavy lifting. Work in sections and target weak points. Now that you've got the right angle, it's time to work more efficiently. Start at the top of the steps and work your way down instead of trying to break up the entire step at once. Focus on smaller sections, about 1 or 2 square feet at a time, and square those areas off so that you can break those small sections off. This way you'll have a lot better control and won't be exhausted. Another pro tip, always target weak points first, like edges, corners, existing cracks. These areas will break apart faster and give you a starting point to attack the tougher areas. Once you've got an opening, the rest of the concrete will start to give way. Handle reinforcements carefully. Now, some of you might run into a surprise while jackhammering, rebar or metal mesh inside the concrete. If your steps are reinforced, don't worry, the jackhammer can still break through the concrete around the metal. But once you hit that rebar, stop and switch to a reciprocating saw with a metal blade to cut it out, or a concrete saw. Trying to force the jackhammer through the metal is going to slow you down and possibly damage the tool. Managing the debris. As you work, make sure to clear the debris regularly. Not only will it help keep your workspace clean, but it'll also prevent accidents and give you a cleaner view of what's left to break. You don't want to be tripping over chunks of concrete or having them fly up while you're working. The most important rule here is take breaks and let the tool do the work. Use the tool to your benefit and don't work against it. These modern day jackhammers have anti-vibration handles. You can barely feel the vibration. Jackhammering concrete is hard work, so don't hesitate to take breaks. Not only will this prevent exhaustion, but it'll also help you stay focused and safe. More importantly, let the jackhammer do the work for you. There's no need to force it. Always gentle pressure and guide it along the concrete, but resist the temptation to push down hard. That's just going to wear you down faster. The real trick is maneuvering that jackhammer side to side every 3 inches to 1 foot so that you can break sections off. Keep the jackhammer there anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds, then move it again. Now there's one thing that I missed here. Before you go ahead and jackhammer concrete, it's always good to take a look and make sure that there's no electrical conduits running through it or anything like that. You don't want to hit maybe somebody poured a gas line in 50 years ago, or just kind of really take a look around at the site to make sure that everything's clear to go. I've never really seen anything in all the years I've been jackhammering, but it's always important to check that out. Make sure there's no electrical, gas lines, or anything like that that's in the concrete. And if you see anything, immediately stop, check the area, make sure that it's clear to start going. That's why it's really important to clear that concrete off as you go. One of my other favorite tips for removing concrete, not specifically steps, but using a 16-inch quick cut concrete saw to cut that concrete before you jackhammer is a great idea, because if there's any rebar in there, it's already going to cut it for you. With the Hilti and some of the other jackhammers out there, it's pretty much going to break it down faster than cutting it. But it's nice if you want to get some slabs out. Maybe you have an excavator with forks on it, or anything like that. You can pick up the whole slab cut out rather than sections like this. We've removed patios in 2 foot by 2 foot sections and brought them out into a bin in the front yard, and everything was cut out just like little blocks. And we didn't even use a jackhammer, and that worked really well because we're taking out larger sections. So maybe that's going to be a future video that I'll do. I'll show you that option as well. All right, so once you've broken up all the concrete, clean up the site. Not only does it make things look nice, but you'll also prevent any accidents or issues during the next steps of your project. Plus, if you're recycling the concrete, where most concrete can be recycled, and it's also pretty much free to dispose of it, keeping it organized helps speed up that process. Piles of concrete everywhere is harder to clean up than a nice organized pile or multiple small piles. And that's it. With the right preparation, technique, and a little patience, jackhammering concrete steps doesn't have to be as tough as it seems. Just remember to work in sections, use that 45-degree angle, let the tool do the heavy lifting, check the site before you start, even get a graph scan of that slab, especially on commercial projects or any indoor floors. You definitely want to get them checked before you start jackhammering them. If you've got any other tips for using a jackhammer, or maybe excavators or anything like that with grapples, anything about your projects or questions, drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching The Art of Concrete. Also, check out my website, visit the newsletter at theartofconcrete.ca, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications for more concrete tips and tricks. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.